Hello, friends and neighbors. It's your old pal Adam, here to walk you through my process, do a little track breakdown on the song Next Stop, Aurora, Indiana by Dan Webb and the Spiders. Let's check it out.
I may have killed a man, I left him lying for dead. I took a shovel and bashed in his head. Now it's time to go.
Little background, the song is about a distant relative that got in an altercation, may or may not have killed a guy, and then fled to start a new life under an assumed identity. So just real standard stuff. The process was we were collaborating remotely, and with all clients, I like to start with a demo. So this is what I received from Dan. Fortunately, he has a good home studio setup, so he got a real clean recording, was tracking to a click. But this is what we started with.
I may have killed a man, I left him lying for dead. I took a shovel and bashed in his head. Now it's time to go.
So from there, our next step was to go back and forth, come up with some arrangement ideas, nail down the roadmap of the song. Dan will also typically send me some reference tracks. Like maybe it would be cool if it sounded like X, Y, or Z, but I think in this case he just said, this is the murder ballad ripper of the bunch, so just lean into that. So I'm thinking like aggressive, energetic, and maybe even some little like spaghetti western vibes come in later. So here's how we start. We only made 2 adjustments to the arrangement. I'll talk about those when they come up. But you can see here in my session file that I have everything kind of mapped out, all of the different sections of the song. This song doesn't really have a chorus, it's just verse, verse, verse. And then there's a little instrumental break that I guess is kind of like an instrumental chorus, or a hook, as the kids call it. Then there's a solo section. That's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple song. So after we get the arrangement nailed down, the first thing is we got to do some drums. So my drums, real simple, real driving, not a complicated setup. Kick in, kick out, snare up, snare down, toms, overheads. This room mic is running through the Sound City room simulator plugin, so it makes it sound like it was recorded in a real big space when it was not. So that's kind of cool to have to fill out the sound. I also have some effect sends on the drums here, some reverb, a little tape simulator, a little crushy kind of thing that I like to use sometimes. Real squashed, real dirty. So then when we put it all together, there's your drums, right? Dan really likes a lot of distortion and saturation. Let's add some dirt to the proceedings, I believe is what he said. So this whole tune is kind of gritty, kind of dirty, and I dig that a lot. So then next is bass, and the bass part is going along with this idea that I had that each section should build just a little bit. It's grouped into 3s, right? And we don't want the same thing over and over. I really subscribe to the theory that we want something new to either enter, or we want something to go away for every section, so that your ear stays tuned in to the new things coming and going, keeps your interest, rather than just having the same thing over and over on all the repeats. The next step is adding the keys, some of the background stuff, and then I would send it back to Dan with kind of just like a rough draft of the band parts. And I say band, it was just me. And then he would add his guitars. And in this case, we did 2 tracks of electric. We did 2 tracks of acoustic. Let's just hear him guitars. We're starting with just chugging, driving. On the acoustic and the electrics, we double tracked, and then we used a ribbon mic and a dynamic mic on each. So there's some options to layer stuff in and out, fill out the sounds. The dynamic mics get a little more front end of the attack of the note, and the ribbon mics tend to be a little bit warmer. And for these electric parts especially, you can see in the first iteration of the verse, it's just the one all by itself, and then his friend comes in And then in this third go round, we're adding little organ, right? Just kind of high sustain note. All right, and now that brings us to this break. Also on this break, I thought it would be cool to add some real big, I guess they're like taiko drums. They're just big drum hits. Real squashed, real dirty, but in the background just to add some extra weight to those big hits and kind of put a period on the end of the sentence that has been developing throughout the verses. So after this riff, hooky part, we get into the second verse. Same idea, it's 3 sections. But again, I wanted to do something different. So we start kind of like we did on verse 1. And then in verse 2, oh man, what's this? Spooky keys. It's this cool kind of floaty thing. Just something brand new to differentiate from the first verse. So we have something adding, but it's something different than the first time around. So you're interested, you're loving it, we're having fun. So here's the middle part of the second verse. Just like the first time around, organ comes in there to kind of keep it building up to the little break. Let's talk about vocals for a second. We double tracked all the vocals, again, using 2 mics, a condenser and a dynamic. The dynamic mics I have pretty heavily processed, real distorted, right? But then we add in that cleaner sound for the principal leads for the condenser mics. And then, what is this? Sweet angel singing in the background. Who could that be? So I took a similar approach with the background vocals. There's nothing in the first round of the verses. In the second round of the verses, there's just one part, right? And then the third part, add that high part. So that when word gets around. So again, we're building through each section of the song. Now, the hook comes back, the riff, and then we take off into the solo section. Right now. So let's talk about this guitar solo. On the demo, it was, again, just an acoustic guitar, so he was playing it acoustically, and it sounded kind of banjo-y, Mandalorian. Here's the original demo solo section. And I really like that sound. So I have a family heirloom 12-string that came in to our house and my studio from my father-in-law after he passed away, and really cool to be able to use it on this song. And what I did was I have 3 different unison, it's the same part but recorded at the octave. So here's the middle, the main voice, then we added way up there, high octave, and then low octave. They're all real blown out, real distorted sounding, and then when you put them all together, it's a really thick texture, kind of fuzzy. And then of course, what's a solo without harmony? Harmonized guitar solos forever. And then we also added, kind of leading into the, I don't know, spaghetti western kind of vibes, I thought it'd be cool to have some trumpet stuff going on. and this trumpet kind of layers in and builds as the solo section builds. Shout out to my buddy Colin Fox, trumpet wizard, multi-instrumentalist wizard. I wrote some trumpet parts. He recorded them for me. Kind of building, and then in this last section, the trumpet is kind of playing in the gaps of the guitar solo, so there's a little conversation. Now we're back to this hook part. And this solo section and the preceding break was one of the only changes we made to the original arrangement. I think in the original it was like twice as long, and just personal preference thing, it felt like a little too much, so I just chopped it in half so we could get on and get to this cool solo thing. After the solo, we come back to the hook, bring the intensity down just a little bit for a second. Then we have this bridge that kind of builds. Trumpets are trading with that guitar riff. Building. Bring it way down.
I've come to the end.
Spooky vibes are back.
I've made good on my word. Surrounded by family and friends. I don't know if...
Then the band's back in. A couple things I did to really bring it down there. I took out the actual drums and I just used this real soft MIDI kick to just kind of keep a pulse going through there, like a heartbeat thing almost. A lot of the guitars were automated out, so it's just the dynamic mics, it looks like. Just really cut everything down. I only used one of the vocals instead of using the double thing. Just wanted everything to shrink, so by contrast, the two sections on either side would seem even bigger. So when the band kicks back in, we're back to chugging. It's like the second verse of the second time of the first verse, kind of similar. Here comes our friend the organ back in. Two background vocal parts. And then we end with... That was the only other change to the arrangement. I think in the original it just kind of ended right there. At the last vocal, and I thought it would be cool to bring the riff back just to tie it all together. And that's it. That's a song. That's how you do songs, kids. If you're interested to know any more about what plugins did you use on whatever channel, go ahead and ask me. I'm happy to get in the weeds on all that nerdy stuff. But this is the track. This is my process. There'll be more of this coming along in the future. Support the band. Go to danwebbandthespiders.bandcamp.com and pick up a copy of the new EP. It's called Difficult Creek. It's 5 songs, collaborative effort between Dan and I. Thanks for listening. Bye.